Have you ever wondered if your life is pre-designed and everything you do is what's meant to happen, or do you actually think you have control over it? Well, now's your chance to find out. Hi, I'm Tom, and this is Adult Game Reviews. This week I take a look at Fate's Determination by Ecstasy Games. Fates is still in development with 6 chapters released. One of the reasons I love AVNs is that they can explore some topics that maybe could only be done in movies by big corporations, which tend to lose their soul. Looking at you, Marvel.
Alright, it's a good point.
Or through novels or comic books, Fates explores the human evolution of superpowers. So still looking at you, Marvel.
I think I'm having a
but also Fate itself, how much control we have over our lives. We play 2 main characters in Fates, Jake, an 18-something guy looking to get away from his alcoholic father. He sets to run away with his girlfriend to make a new life when things get upended. And you have Amy, freshly out of the academy at Quantico. You get selected to a special unit of the FBI that tracks down and captures or kills people with gifts. FYI, I'm tweaking my Patreon exclusive videos to do a lot more of a deep dive into the games that I play. While I stopped showing my scale and going in as much depth on YouTube because people didn't watch it, you can check some of my very first videos on the channel to see what I mean, just done better. I will be releasing the Patreon section with a bit more content like that, so if you're interested in supporting the channel, please head over to patreon.com/adultgamereviews or check the link in the description. Okay, let's get into Fate's Determination, starting with the good. Right off the bat, you can see how good Fate's looks. The renders can look really good. I don't think they're as good as, say, Fresh Women, but they're definitely above average. I do hope they continue to get better over time because I did notice a little bit of variability in some of the renders, but for the most part, it was done pretty well. And sticking with that topic, one thing that the developer does in Fates that I haven't really seen before is at the end of each chapter they do a cutscene. I'll show a little bit of the cutscene from chapter 1 here. Sometimes it was a little confusing as to what was happening, but the scenes and the music included is something that every AVN should start doing moving forward. Okay, next moving on to the plot. I loved the story itself. It was really inventive. I was hooked into seeing what happens next and how your choices changed outcomes. It was a little unclear how much your choices affected the plot, but you do have a couple of different endings for Jake and Amy. So it seems you do actually have some control over the events, but it was hard to tell which choices really mattered. Next, the music and the sound effects. The game has sound effects. You can also tell the developer picked out some actual music and not just generic free versions. Not every song was great, but many were used in the right moments. The music was great at setting the tone, and in some of the more action-packed scenes you had sound effects that really added depth to a lot of scenes that probably wouldn't have them otherwise. Lastly, the not safe for work content was all animated, so not just static renders, which was really surprising. The bodies in the environment looked really nice, so all I have to say about that is
nice. Very nice.
Okay, moving on to the bad. The thing that stood out to me the most was just how the writing was pretty stilted. You have scenes that should have been really emotional. You get reunited with someone and the scene was supposed to be a big reveal, but the writing wasn't good enough to emphasize the importance of this. I didn't notice any punctuation or spelling issues, unlike you, Divergence, which should have been really emotional. Felt like it was just kind of glossed over. This happens a few times, which was super disappointing. This left most of the side characters outside of Jake and Amy being very one-dimensional, which did hurt the overall immersion. Next, while I thought the renders and animations were good for the most part, some of the faces could vary in quality. There's one character that you have an intimate interaction with, and I was blown away with the face and the body, whereas most of the time, this character, I don't know, just something was off about it. Take a look, maybe it's just me. Also, while there were sound effects in the AVN, the lewd scenes were completely silent. Since the sound effects were really great, it was even more noticeable without them when you actually hit an adult scene. Lastly, there weren't that many lewd scenes. There was a lot of nudity, but not a ton of scenes. I would say that when you did get them, they were pretty good, but the scenes were mostly vanilla. There's one scene that wasn't vanilla, but there was a scene that happened after that was just implied instead of shown. So mostly vanilla, lewd scenes, which I know a lot of people will find this boring. Okay, now on to the weird. But first, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate how the channel has grown and everyone's support, so thank you so much. So when I made this channel, I never thought that I would be commenting on the main character's package as much as I do. This is the first AVN I've seen in a while where you look average as far as endowment goes. So take that as a good thing or a bad thing, but something worth pointing out. The next unfortunate is that he needs to put on lotion. It kind of looks flaky to me. Not sure if he's just dry, but I don't know, drink water, put on lotion, do something, because it looked like he was shedding his skin at some points, and I was like, I didn't know what I was looking at.
Sorry, my lips are a little dry.
Overall, I feel like Fate's Determination falls into the same category as a lot of AVNs do. Think Divergence or Fresh Women. It was still enjoyable. I had a pretty good time with it. The story was interesting and some of the little details like the end of chapter cutscenes were great, but there were problems. With Fates, it was the writing. I just kept noticing the writing and how many scenes could have been so much more. You look at a game like Fresh Women where I thought the game was beautiful, but the writing hurt that game too. With Divergence, it's the same. How the writing was a problem was different with all those AVNs, but they still suffered from them. So you can definitely have have fun. I look forward to future chapters, but unless the writing is improved, it will fall into that slightly average to above average AVN range. So what is your biggest deal breaker for you in AVNs or adult games? Let me know down below. If you haven't seen my list video on 10 random games that just haven't made a list yet, then you can check it out right here. Thanks again. Until next time.